First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Ross Thompson. Thank you very much for being here on the boxingbar.com and welcome.
Thanks.
Let's get to know you a little bit. Where were you born and raised?
I'm from Buffalo, New York.
What part of the Buffalo are you from?
The east side.
What was it like being raised there in the east side of Buffalo?
It was okay, man. Growing up, yeah. It's a hard life coming up, two of my brothers died, 14 and 15, and I pretty much had to use boxing as my outlet.
What was your household like growing up there in Buffalo at home? Were you guys close as a family there?
Yeah, my dad, my mom, three brothers, three sisters.
And what were you like as a kid growing up?
I was more a quiet kid until I got about 13, 14. Then I started doing a lot of other things in the streets. I say pretty much after my brothers died, kind of lost focus a little bit on boxing, and kind of got into a lot of street things and everything like that. I had won a lot of national titles as a junior. Then I stopped boxing for like 3 years. And I came back when I was 17.
What were you like as a student growing up? Were you a good student or?
Well, actually, I was a good student, man, actually into high school. And that's when I really pretty much stopped going to school and I started getting bad grades. Actually, I was like in the honor roll in 5th, 6th grade, 7th, 8th grade. Still was doing okay. Then by 9th grade, my grades was really slipping. Kind of, pretty much because of things I was doing.
You brought up getting into boxing. How do you remember getting into boxing? When was the first time you walked into a gym?
8 years old. I can still actually remember the date and everything in my first amateur fight. July 4th, 1981. I was like 57 pounds. One of my first 21 amateur fights. Actually, my first loss was to my brother. Crazy as that is, but me and my brother fought national PAL finals in 1985 at 90 pounds. It was a fight I didn't even really want to fight. We didn't even fight hard. But it hurted. My first loss, everybody was like, "Well, no, it's to your brother." I said, "Man, after winning 21 straight fights and have your first loss, it was just hard to take for me. It didn't matter who it was."
For your first several amateur fights, sir, would you say you were a natural at it, or did you have to work at it very much?
Well, I was a natural, but I say like that my family, my dad always said that my other brother was the more of a natural. I think it took me a little more longer to learn some of the things he was showing, but once I got it, I perfected it pretty much.
Did you grow up watching boxing at home, or how did you get into the gym that early at 8 years old? Did your dad watch boxing?
Yeah, because my dad was a fighter. He boxed in the Marines. We all pretty much, my older brothers, I was the youngest boy, so my older brother was all boxing, so, pretty much kept begging my dad to let me go. So after I got about 7 years old, then he finally let me come to the gym. My dad, he boxed in the Marines with Richard Steele. That's pretty much how we all got out of Buffalo. My dad would call Richard Steele, and I went to Vegas. And my older brother went to Vegas. He was 6-0 as a pro, then he died. He drowned in Lake Mead. And then, 3 years later, I went out there. Once I started training again, two of my brothers died. One got stabbed, and the other one drowned. And when they died, I didn't box really for 3 years. So when I started boxing again, my dad sent me to Vegas. Pretty much started my amateur career as an open fighter, which was in Vegas.
What were your favorite boxers that you remember growing up with?
Sugar Ray Robinson, Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard. My favorite fighter was Thomas Hearns coming up.
Yeah, funny how you brought up how your father used to box in the Marines. I had Richard Steele on here in the past, and he brought up his boxing career while he was there in the service. And he said there was a lot of good times.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot of good times. They told me a lot of old stories.
What do you think of your amateur career? What was your amateur record when you closed it off?
I was 8-7, I think. I won the national PALs 3 times, won national silver gloves, won blue and gold tournament, I won national golden gloves, won an Olympic festival. I was ranked #1 in the country as an amateur. I went to the World Championships. I lost in the quarterfinals to the Cuban Juan Hernandez. I had a good
lot of boxers today, for some reason, they don't have a extensive amateur background like the one you just spoke of. A lot of people don't do that anymore. Do you think it's, in your opinion, do you think it's important for a professional boxer today to have an extensive amateur career or background coming into the pros?
Oh yeah, it's definitely important for them to have a deep amateur background. You rarely see a guy with not a great amateur background do well as a pro. You know, some guys don't do well as an amateur. Like my oldest brother, he was an amateur. You know, but he was a very good pro. He just didn't have an amateur style.
And I've asked so many boxers that particular question, and so many boxers answer a different way. There's some boxers that do agree with you there, and then there's boxers that say, when you have so many hundreds of amateur fights, it softens you up. So when you get to the pros, you're already a beaten, battered person, and you don't end up having a long professional career.
Right. So, yeah, I think that's very true because, I've been boxing since I was 8 years old, but I only had 87 amateur fights. Most guys who started boxing that early, they had 400 amateur fights. Like guys I came over like Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley, they had 300 amateur fights. They used to fight every week, but I never had all those amateur fights. Basically only fought, in tournaments. Very rarely did I fight in smoker fights at the amateur. Like a lot of guys in the area didn't want to fight me, so I had to wait to go to the nationals to fight. And then even when I, turned open, 17 years old, when I fought the bigger guys, I very rarely fought, like on the local scene. It's always the nationals, international type fights. So.
What was it like for a youngster to be, going up from the Golden Gloves all the way up towards that way to try to get into the Olympics? What is it like to do that for a person or for a young boxer?
Well, I tell the kids, man, going in these tournaments, it's not easy, to win these national tournaments. It's very hard. Sometimes not even always the best fighter, because there's a lot of good fighters at the nationals. Sometimes, it could be luck. You might have a good draw. You may have one guy beat another guy for you, but you could beat him, but his style is going to give you problems. So a lot of times it's luck, but you got to fight. When I won the nationals, I had to fight 5 times and 5 days to go to gloves. It's hard, because you fighting every day, your body start getting sore. I know by the finals, I was pretty much sore. My elbow was hurting real bad, fighting every day. So it's very hard in all these tournaments and amateurs.
From, let's say, fights that you've had and decisions that you might have received back then in your amateur career, is there a lot of political bullshit that happens as far as the judging and all that stuff?
Oh, there's definitely politics, Like, I should have been going to the Olympics in 1982. I had gotten some trouble in 1991 in Sydney, Australia at the World Championships. So when I got in that trouble, the USA team basically said, well, he's not going to the Olympics. I remember the Olympic coach, Pat Nappy, telling me, you might as well turn pro because you're not going. Before that, I was up and coming, I was the youngest member of the U.S. team, 17, just turned 18. And he said I wasn't going to the Olympics. Actually, they tried to kick me off the USA team. I had to get a lawyer to get back on the team. And after that, once they let me back on the team, they actually told me I had to travel with the number 2 team because they said I was a bad guy and this and that. I was a troublemaker, and I'm like, well, I'm the youngest guy on the team,
So they saw you more like a liability more than a helper there.
Yeah, and then, at the Olympic trials, the guy who was ranked number 1, maybe you'll know him, Clayton Williams, he's from California. Yeah, he was ranked number 1 at the time. He had won the U.S. Championship that year.
You remember Pepe Riley?
Yeah, Pepe Riley. See, Pepe Riley, when I won the National Golden Gloves, Pepe Riley had won the U.S. Championships in '91, but he had the steroids charge. So when I became number 1, people were saying, "Oh, you didn't beat the top guy because Pepe Riley was suspended for a year for steroids." So, because he won the U.S. Championships in 1991, but then I won the National Golden Glove. Because I was fighting 139 when he won the U.S. Championships. I lost to Vernon Forrest in '91 at the U.S. Championships. But then I moved up to 147. And Pepe Riley, he was on suspension, so going into the National Golden Gloves, it was like no favorite, really. I won the National Golden Gloves. So then when the Olympic Festival came, the top 4 in the country, Pepe Riley wasn't there. That's when I think they had Pat Bird as his beat Pat Bird. And I became ranked number one, but they were like, well, Peppy Riley, but he was suspended. Actually, me and Peppy Riley never fought, But then in the Olympic trials, I fought Jesse Brasino, the semis, because I beat Clayton Williams the first day. Second day, I fought Jesse Brasino. He had an awkward style, but then I figured him out in the third round, and I was dominating him. But they gave Jesse Brasino a decision, and then Jesse Brasino fought Peppy Riley in the finals, and he gave Peppy Riley a good fight. Peppy Riley won. Then they chose Jesse Brasino for the box offs. See, back then they didn't have double elimination like they do in Olympic trials. But all they needed was to have that. They didn't want me to fight Peppy Riley, but all they needed to have was double eliminations, and I would have been able to come out of the losers bracket like they do now. Back then, if you lost, you was out, and you just had to hope that they chose you for the box offs. And they should have chose me, but that's the politics of the game, If anybody should have got chosen, it was me, because everybody knows controversial when I lost to Jesse Brasino. And then me and Peppy Riley was the two guys who was ranked number one the previous years.
And at what point did you decide to go to the pros?
Right after the Olympic trials in '92, I turned pro. There was no thought about it, because I had people invested money into me as an amateur, so by the time I turned pro, they was ready for me to turn pro anyway. Actually, I should have stayed amateur for 4 more years and went to '96. I remember Kenny telling me, he was like, Russ, man, don't turn pro yet. You're only 19 years old. He was like, you should wait 4 more years. And I was just impatient. But really, I hadn't had that much experience, because, I was boxing since I was 8, but I came back when I was 17, and I boxed for 2 years. I won some nationals and everything. I did good, but only boxed, at that senior level for 2 years, and then I turned pro. So, and I was like, no, I ain't staying amateur. It's politics and this and that. So I went pro. Then I looked at David Reed. I beat David Reed in the Golden Gloves, and he ended up winning the gold medal in '86. So I used to really regret turning pro sometimes so early.
Your first pro fight, the day that you got there to the venue where you're going to make your pro debut, what was it like in the locker room for you before your pro fight there?
I remember, man, I was sitting in the locker room, and I was in the bathroom, man. Me and I was in the locker room, and I had my gloves on and my cuff on and everything. And I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. It was about time to go out. I had to go pee. So I remember everybody in there was like, well, you gotta go. And he's like, well, your brother gotta go hold your dick. I said, man, I'll hold it. My brother was like, oh, no, I ain't about to do that. So I just went out there, but I knocked the guy out in the first round. Yeah, I was a little nervous, because I was like, man, first time actually fighting professional, with no headgear on. You feel naked. No shirt, no headgear. But I adjusted real fast. Actually, I used to spar with no headgear all the time when I was a kid, me and my brother. The thing is, it's funny, man, because when I was a kid, man, my dad used to have me and my brother spar in the basement 15 rounds. So I used to fight like a pro when I was a kid. But it was kind of hard. My dad would have me and my brother sparring 10 rounds, 12 rounds, 15 rounds sometimes in the basement. We had to fight at such a slow pace, but then we had to go in there and fight them amateur fights. When you're a kid like that, the rounds a minute and a half, you got to go out there. So it was really hard to adjust going out there fighting that fast pace after having to run that long distance fight, and then going out there in the little 3-round fights, 12, 13-year-old, minute and a half rounds. You got to fight real fast.
What was it like fighting at the Great Western Forum, where there used to be so many big fights here in Inglewood in California? What was it like?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I loved fighting out at the Forum. And, it was a good experience for me, man. Going out there fighting Forum early in my career. That's one thing that I definitely miss.
And what would you say was your biggest strength, or one of your biggest assets that you had as a boxer in those first, let's say, your first dozen fights or so?
I say overall, my biggest strength was my reflexes and quickness. I had great eyes. I had good instincts. and I always, can anticipate punch, so I have very good defense, and that was one of my biggest strengths. Actually, I still got defense.
Adrian Stone, what was that fight like for you?
Man, that was my first loss, and we fought in Atlantic City. I was living in Vegas, and we fought in Atlantic City. And it was actually my first fight going back east as a pro. Going into that fight, man, I just, like my trainer at the time was telling me that Top Rank more wanted him to win than me because his manager was Stan Hoffman, but we both was with Top Rank. I went out there and started getting into it with the referee, and it ended up being an ugly fight. And it was kind of immaturity on my end too, because I just started thinking, well, fuck the referee. And, I was arguing with the referee the whole time instead of more focusing on the fight. And then, ended up getting disqualified in the seventh round, But it was, a very ugly fight.
And a few fights up, you fight a guy by the name of Daniel Perez, and he gets disqualified. How did he get DQ'd there?
Well, that was a knockout. I stopped Daniel Perez. In his corner, Jesse Reed was his trainer. He jumped in on the ring and stopped the fight. That's what they call disqualification. Fight Facts had it as a knockout, but BoxRec had it as a DQ. But they announced it as a TKO at the time. I remember Jesse Reed jumping in the ring, but it was actually a stoppage. He threw the towel up. I don't know. The Nevada Commission made two rulings on it, but I know they said 18 knockouts. But on BoxRec it said 17 knockouts. They took that knockout away.
And then a few fights up from there, you fight James Page, who was a very underrated fighter, I thought. He was a very good fighter. What do you remember about that fight there in Vegas?
I remember that fight well also. It was a good fight. They was bringing Page along. He had fought Stevie Johnson earlier. It was a good hard fight. I think it was my first time actually going 10 rounds. I remember getting tired in that fight. Page coming on the 7th, 8th round. And, he ended up winning 10-round decision on me.
How about Obakar? What do you remember about that particular fight with him?
I remember the Obakar fight, man. They was trying to build that fight up into a grudge fight because, me and Obakar, we had got into it in the gym. I've been knowing Obakar since we was kids in the little junior tournaments coming up. So, but, when I came to Vegas, Obakar, already was pro by then. He turned pro early. He didn't really do too well as an amateur in the senior division. So he turned pro around 16. So, me and Obakar, we got into one time we were sparring, and we got into a fight after the sparring, and it was crazy, It was like a wild scene, and then me and Obakar was kind of enemies for a minute. But by the time we fought, we had mended all that. But the media tried to, make it into a grudge match, and, like we doing stare down, we was laughing. We couldn't even look mean at each other. So it was a good fight, though. He ended up winning. He had a little more experience than me at the time. That was pretty much that, man. I can say, it was a good fight. It was a fight that I really wanted to win, but hey, that's boxing.
And then, of course, a few fights up, same type of thing happens. Another scuffle right before a fight, or right before your fight with Fernando Vargas. What do you remember about that incident right before the fight?
Well, yeah, like when this started happening to me a lot. I fought Antonio Reese. It was my elimination fight to be number one for Vargas. And I got into it at the weigh-in with him. I fight him in his hometown, Washington, D.C. We got into it at the weigh-in, and I stirred everything up, and everybody said, well, yeah, unless you going to win, you win the fight on before the fight at the weigh-in. So then at the Vargas fight, when I fought Vargas, man, it was, people thought that I started all that, and when I fought Vargas, everybody thought that I was, coming in there, started that on my own and stirring up this. But no, the thing was, Vargas, he didn't show a lot of respect for guys from, past, like him and Oscar. Raul Marquez told me a lot of things about him. So I already had a dislike for him, the things people was telling me that he didn't show nobody respect. So when I first seen him at the press conference, he already was talking shit. I was actually doing an interview for the the local Channel 7 News in Vegas. And, Gary Shaw got on the mic. Well, Ross Thompson, we'll start this press conference with or without you. So I went up to the stage, and I walked his way. And then, he stood up and confronted me. So I already knew what he did. He did it to Roll. I think he did it to Winky Wright. Did it to another guy. Like, when you do a little stare down with him, he trying to sneak you. That's what he do. So as soon as he started walking up on me, I smacked him. I wasn't about to let him walk up on me and get the first shot off. Then everybody get in between us and I don't get a chance to retaliate. So as soon as he was walking up on me, I smacked him. And that's what happened. He tried to betray it as different, but he tried to say I punched him, but I smacked him. Because I had no respect for him. So I smacked him like he was a girl. And then I fell off the stage. He tried to say he hit me. He threw a punch, but my great reflex is I dodged the punch. But then when I dodged the punch, I stepped back, and it was a makeshift stage. So you thinking fat? You're not thinking. I'm thinking like it's a hole. I'm about to fall into the wall, back into the wall, but I fell off the stage. Then I jumped back up. It was just a hectic, crazy press conference after that.
So when you actually fought with him, what did you think of his skills? Was he a little more than what you thought he was going to be?
Well, I knew he was a good fighter. I called him a bum and everything else before the fight. But I knew Fernando Vargas could fight. Shit. I ain't stupid. But he was a good fighter, though. But as far as compared to me, skill-wise, I knew he couldn't compete with me. I knew I had much more speed than him, much more natural reflexes. But he was a very good boxer. So.
Was there a lot of talking going on between you guys while you guys were in that fight?
Yeah, it was. I was talking a lot of shit. He was talking shit during the fight. I look at it like, man, I never complained. I could have made a protest. I could have quit during that fight. The man kept hitting me in the back of the head. And I watched guys like Bernard Hopkins quit like a little bitch. Somebody hit him in the back of the head or fall down, say his shoulder hurt and all that stuff. But, he hit me in the back of the head 3 or 4 times. They took a point away from him. Downfall, I think, of that fight because when he was hitting me, actually that was setting me up because he hit me on the temple, took my equilibrium, but that was pretty much helping it. Hitting me in the back of the head before that. But when they took the point away from him, that's when I started getting relaxed. I was like, man, I'm winning a fight. I'm about to win the world title. This is always my dream. Got a little ahead of myself. The next thing you know, he caught me with that left hook right hand. The right hand landed on the temple. It took my legs, man. My equilibrium was gone. I had never been knocked down in my career. And I went down, my legs, but I jumped back up because I had never been knocked down. Let him know I ain't hurt. When I got back up, my legs betrayed me. So I was on wobbly legs. My head was clear, but my legs was gone. Then he knocked me down again. Then, I didn't even recover by the time going to the next round because the bell rung. Going to the next round, my legs were still gone. He knocked me down again. So they didn't start the fight because they knew I was good, but it was just my leg. When I went to the ropes, then he threw in a barrage of punches on the ropes, but he hit me on the gloves. And the referee stopped me. So, couldn't argue with it. But really, I think back, I said, man, I could have really made it seem like I see a lot of fighters that make up excuses for why they lost, but I never made an excuse. I just say, you know what, you was the better man, whatever. But I could have said, yeah, he was hitting me in the back of the head the whole night. That's what caused him that knockdown. He kept hitting me in the back of the head, taking my equilibrium anyway. But I never complained, man,
While you were down, I believe he spat on you.
Well, that's what they say. I never felt nothing like that, that's what he said. I remember him talking shit on one of the knockdowns. The one knockdown, I jumped up talking shit back at him. Because I was like, I ain't hurt really. Like my legs just gone. Hey, it's just boxing, man.
You go on and fight your next fight up. You fight at a middleweight. Why did you decide to go up in weight right after Fernando Vargas?
Well, the Vargas fight, I lost 22 pounds in 5 days. And it was very hard for me to make the weight. And then the next fight after that, I told my manager, I said, well, I'm moving up to 160. And actually, I was supposed to fight because I was stuck in a contract with Don King, and he wouldn't let me out the contract. So I was all for a year after the Vargas fight. And he finally released me out of my contract. And so me and my manager, we were just going on our own. So I took a fight, and I didn't show up to the fight because I was like 18 pounds overweight. So then going to the Eric Mitchell fight, I had pulled out of the fight before that. So I really didn't want to fight Eric Mitchell because I had these bad cramps in my legs, like terrible cramps going into that fight. So I really didn't want to fight. And I was still overweight. You know, I had to do all this running, and my legs was cramping up real bad. The only reason why I took the fight was because of my manager. It was pressure from my manager. I said, well, I'm not going to really get in out there and fight Eric Mitchell. I had no legs.
Next fight after that, you even go up another weight class to super middleweight, and you get a knockout in the first round of Ron Johnson. What do you remember about that fight, and how did 168 feel for you?
Well, by that fight, I was able to adjust, and get my weight down the right way. I learned pretty much a lesson from the fight before. I didn't make weight the right way for that Eric Mitchell fight. I still didn't even make weight. That fight was really at 160, I was able to adjust and start doing the right thing, and came back when I fought Ronnie Johnson and, won that title, WT Continental title.
A few fights after that, you fight a very solid Jeff Lacey at 168, very strong, hard puncher. You fight him, you lose that fight, but you go all the way to decision. How were you able to withstand a strong puncher like that at 168, which wasn't a very natural weight for you?
The Lacey fight, he was a great puncher, but, he didn't really land on me a lot. I mean, actually, he was the high. If you asked me who was the hardest puncher I fought, I probably would say Jeff Lacey. But I remember him hit me, I think it was the fourth round. It was like I seen three of this guy, He definitely was the hardest puncher, pure puncher that I fought. But I had such great defense, he couldn't really land on me like he wanted to. Because, if a guy can punch, if he can't hit you, he's taking away his strengths. So that was the thing with the Lacey fight.
And then a few fights after that, you fight Sam Reese at almost light heavy, which is almost at the 175. A few fights after that, you go all the way back down to almost 160 when you fight Antoine Eccles. How did all that weight fluctuation from all these different weights that you were going up and down? I mean, how did that affect you during all these fights?
Well, when I fought Sam Reese, I pretty much took that fight on 3 weeks' notice or whatever, and they wanted me to fight in the show in Buffalo when Joe Macy was doing his thing in Buffalo, and so I was weighing like 200 something pounds, so I was just like, well, I'll get down low as I can, so I got down out there weight 181 for the fight, and then after that, I pretty much regrouped, got my way back down, I fought Echoes and Pavlik at the lower weights.
What do you remember about the fight with Pavlik?
Pavlik fight, man, I felt like I won that fight. I felt like I had it 5 rounds to 3 in that fight. It was the worst. It could have been a draw. But the politics of boxing, man, it's crazy. Like when you look at the fight, people look at it on BoxRec or something like that. Say, oh, 80-72. It's like, wow. It's crazy. Like boxing is a terrible sport, man. Just the man from all the way top rank. They looking at me like they think my career over. Pavlik wins. Nah, I beat Khalid Pavlik, man. They gave him the decision, but it was very controversial, but nobody made a big thing about it because, Pavlik had all these big dudes behind him, and they thought my career was over by then, When I fought Pavlik, 2 of the 3 judges got at us. Shut out. I said, what are they thinking? Like, they just said, you know what? I'm going to close my eyes. I already got the winner. It's boxing for you, though, man,
Montel Griffin, I've had him on here. What do you remember about that fight with him?
Well, actually, Montel Griffin, that was, the best performance of my career, I would say, man. I dominated him, and they called this fight a draw. I'm in his hometown. He's supposed to get his so-called 50th win. I dominated Montel Griffin, and I belittled him during the fight. Like, me and Montel Griffin, we was friends as amateurs. Because, he was on the U.S. team with me and everything as an amateur. But going into the fight, I guess he took it personal because I shouldn't have wanted to fight him. But it wasn't so much I wanted to fight him, they asked me to fight him. So he took it personal, like, oh, we're supposed to be friends, so the amateurs why you want to fight me, so when we got in the ring, I was already, he took it personal, but, I went out there and I was just fighting, and I was belittling him, and I was talking to him, and I made him look like shit, and I easily won that fight, man. I say that was the best performance of my career from round 1 to round 10. Because a lot of my fights, kind of like not inconsistent. Now, I don't know what was his problem, but hey, there's nothing I can say to the man because he's a little girl, you know. you know, because the man really he took that fight so personal. I'm like, it's boxing. End of the day, we're gonna be friends after the fight. That's what I told him in the ring. He's like, yeah, okay. And then he get on the internet making crazy stuff up.
I believe he's in law enforcement now. I don't think he's gonna be fighting anymore. But if you ever did, would that be something that you'd be interested in?
Oh yeah, but he wouldn't want to fight me again anyway, 'Cause, I beat his ass, I played with him like he was a little kid. But he just don't understand. He had a perfect style for me anyway. And I would have like he look at it like, well, Ross might have lost to this guy or whatever, but I beat his ass because for one, I problem with a boxer anyway. Like a guy, I would have more problem with a guy who comes forward and aggressive, give me room because he gave me room all night. But eat his ass up. Any fighter, if they give me room, they give me distance, I'm gonna eat him up. That's what I did with he thought he could outbox me. Can't nobody outbox me. Nobody. Floyd Mayweather, anybody. None of them guys can outbox me, man. The best way to fight Ross Thompson is to put pressure on him and just stay busy. Don't give him room to set up. If you give him room on the outside, he gonna kill you. And that's what he did. That was his mistake. I don't know why he thought he could go in there and outbox me.
You said Montel was saying a lot of stuff about you online. Just a few days ago, you got into a little something with Fernando Vargas on his Twitter, which he has a lot of fans of, and a lot of people were wondering what was going on there. What happened in your point of view on that little internet argument that you had there with Fernando Vargas?
Like me and Vargas, man, we had talked through Facebook about a year ago. We got cool. We did all that other stuff. And, we had talked a couple times, actually. And then I just commented on the status about, he was saying something about Eric Morales being a couple pounds overweight. He was saying, what it feels like to have to lose that weight. So I was agreeing, I just commented on the status. So I guess one of his little fans, one of his guys who worship him or whatever, wanted to be an asshole. He said something, oh, he beat your ass and this and that. So I took the high road. I was like, that was 12 years ago. Me and Fernando cool now. We both matured. We ain't even talking about that stuff from 12 years ago no more. So the guy, he took the comment down. But then after that, everybody started talking about the fight. Instead of talking about Morales, they was just talking about me and Vargas fighting. So, it was back and forth with that. And, Vargas, he wasn't saying nothing. So then he got on, he said what he had to say, oh, I won, and you tried to slap me, I spit on you, and all this stuff. So, we started going back and forth from that, and then he posted the fight. He put at Ross on Twitter or whatever and said, oh, at Ross, this what happens when you talk shit. And then he put the fourth round on our fight. So then, I put up the second round, which I dominated him in our fight, So it was just back and forth from there. But, man, the man obviously got a problem, So if anything, if he was smart, he would just say, why should I argue with Ross Thompson? I beat him 12 years ago. The fight's over. I ain't got to prove it on Facebook. I ain't got to defend myself about it. Just go watch the film of it. So for him to go there, he played himself. He made himself look stupid. But, the man punched drunk. So, like I told him, he won the fight, but I won the war at the end of the day. The man punched, he broke. He barely could talk and he barely could walk. So, taking all them punches in the head. So, all his fans, where they at now? What they doing for him? Since, he ain't got no money. He had bad investments. He blew all his money. And, where all his fans at that was so loyal to him? Now he ain't getting beat up no more. Every fight he fought, he came out with his face disfigured. So the man punchy now. Hopefully, Martha taking care of him.
So for a lot of people that might be behind him or see him like a big hero, I mean, you're claiming that he's punchy now because I'm sure he's going to not like what you're saying that he's...
Well, he is punchy. Well, that's obvious. He punchy. He could deny that all he wants. He could deny that, oh, I'm not broke, I'm not punchy, but you could tell by the way he talk. And ask him to get in the ring if he ain't punchy. He don't have reflexes no more. He's shot. So I bet I can get in the ring, and I'm way overweight and everything. I bet I can get in the ring with him or his brother, Roger Rabbit. I fight both of them in the same day because they both... Roger Rabbit was just a bum anyway. He's never nothing. But, Fernando is done. shot. He's a shot fighter. One thing I can do, I can still get in the ring with anybody. You know, so I'm put money on that.
Roger saw that what you were saying about his brother Fernando, and he saw that you said that you had a guy about his weight that he's fighting in, that Lionel's
12-0 with 8 knockouts.
You know, he said, "Hey, you bring whatever you got, or whatever guys you got, and bring them on, and I'll take them on." What would you say to that challenge that Roger has towards your guys or towards the guys you're training right now?
Well, I just laugh at that. You know, Roger Rabbit, he's pretty much a club fighter. You know, he's a novice. You know, so he's not in Lionel League, so like he's not even worth talking about. Cause he's a joke. Like his whole career a joke. I looked him up and I said, "Oh, this guy been pro 12 years. And he had what 7 fights? He's living off his brother's name. So he's not even a serious fighter. You know, he can't fight anyway. So you know, the guy is a joke, man. He shouldn't even be opening his mouth because the bottom line is he ain't nowhere near ever was on the level that his brother ever was on. So you know.
What would you say your goal is as a trainer now?
The way I look at it like this, man. Anybody who come to me, all they got to do is have a work ethic and they listen, they guaranteed to win. I tell any kid, I said, well, if you lose, if you do everything you're supposed to do and you lose, blame it on me. You know, because in the corner, strategy, I know what to tell them to do. In the corner, I know what to come with a game plan, A, B, C, you know, game plans. So, you know, the way I look at it, man, I tell any kid, I said, well, if you lose the fight, man, you did everything you're supposed to do. Hey, it's my fault. Hey, I put it all on me. I'll take all the blame for it. You know, that's how confident I am as a trainer. You know, the way I look at it, you know, don't nobody know boxing like me. You know, they may know much of me, but I don't think nobody know more than me. But the thing is, man, I have so much knowledge instilled in me from so many trainers. I had my dad who trained me, who taught me pretty much everything. But then I was able to get knowledge of so many trainers, you know, like Eddie Futch, you know, his whole clique with Dale Torrance, Hedman Lewis, and Freddie Rook. I had Roger Mayweather, you know, I had Tommy Parks, I had Tommy Brooks, I had Eddie Mustafa, you know, I had Slim Robinson. You know, I had so many legendary trainers train me, and they gave me so much knowledge besides the knowledge that my dad already gave me. So, you know, all the trainers I had, man, is...
And would you be able to say that your career is now over, or is it still up for grabs?
Yeah, if they offer me some money, them dollars looking good, I will think about it. The thing is, I know I can still get in the ring, you know. Like, I took 2 fights at heavyweight, didn't even train for at all, because I was just like, well, I don't even respect heavyweights. And I didn't train for it at all. And, well, the first fight I had fought Travis Kaufman at heavyweight, and I busted him up, you know, then it was a setup fight. They disqualified me. They wasn't going to let me win that fight from the top. Then I fought another fight at heavyweight, forget the guy's name. I fought this other guy at heavyweight, and, you know, I outboxed him the first round, and then, you know, outboxed him the second round. Then, you know, I did get tired in that fight. He wasn't hitting me, but he was just outworking me because he was throwing, and I was just making a miss. And I was basically all defense from the third round on. And I lost decision in that fight, you know. But I didn't get hit. You know, I was started at 147 pounds. I went all the way up to heavyweight and never got knocked out. You know, nobody can hurt me at heavyweight because they can't hit me. So I tell people in boxing, I say, well, it don't matter how hard the guy can hit. If he can't hit you, what good is his power? You taking his strength. You know, that's why I was supposed to got murdered. I was supposed to be getting knocked out once I went to heavyweight. Ross Thompson, this guy started as a welterweight. How is he fighting heavyweight? And he ain't getting knocked out. You know, so, you know, I fought Jeff Lacey. He was supposed to be one of the greatest punchers, you know, couldn't lay a glove on me. Kelly Pavlik, supposed to be this great puncher, couldn't lay a glove on me. These guys, they never hit me clean. You look at punch stats and all that crap, but am I getting hit clean? You know, so that's basically what it comes down to. And I beat Montel. Like I told him, I said, well, well, I won. I don't care what they say. So you know.
I think Montel, he's going to have something to say about that as well. I mean,
Yeah, because he's a bitch. He's a bitch.
your last fight was against Firtha, and it was in Youngstown. Youngstown is, of course, the home of Kelly Pavlik, who you fought. He's about to fight again this coming weekend. What do you think is going to happen in that fight? What do you think, Kelly Pavlik? And do you think he still has a career going?
Well, hopefully, he got a new trainer, Robert Garcia, who's a good trainer. So hopefully he improve his defense. I told Kelly Pavlik, man, I had another war with Pavlik too, because I felt like I beat Pavlik. Then when he beat Jermaine Taylor, I was telling him that give me a rematch. I really beat you, and I was in it. I was under his skin, same way I was under Vargas' skin and under Martell's skin. But me and Kelly Pavlik was having a little war, and I was like, man, you gonna be punchy. You keep taking all them punches, you're gonna start getting knocked out. You take too many punches. The Kelly Pavlik thing is the man go out there and he's methodical. He just go out there. He don't care what you doing. He's gonna throw his combinations. Whatever. If you catch him with right hands all night, he's not gonna adjust and say, "I'm not gonna get caught with that right hand no more." So that's what a smart fighter do. They get caught with a shot. They say, "Well, he ain't catch me with that one again." But Kelly Pavlik, he's the type of guy. He's just methodical. He throw a lot of punches and he just keep coming forward. He's like a machine. But even more of a robotic machine. Hopefully Robert Garcia can help him. And I know Robert Garcia is a good trainer. So, hopefully he can help him.
When it's all said and done, now that your career is over with as far as boxing wise, as a trainer you're still going, but how does Ross Thompson want to be remembered as a athlete, as a boxer, as a trainer? How do you want to be remembered once it's all said and done with?
Well, I just want everybody to remember me as a guy who fought everybody, who didn't worry about, his undefeated record, didn't worry about fighting this guy, fighting that guy. Never worried about his record, never tried to protect his record. Went there and fought the best. Whoever was the best took him on. And even with the Vargas fight, when everybody said, well, he may sleep on you. I said, really? I said, well, let me make sure he don't. So through the media, I started a war, with Vargas. I said I wanted him to be on his A game when he fight me. That's how confident I was in my skills, And I said I wanted him to be on his A game. Wake up. So I woke the man up, And so people say, well, Ross, man, if you wouldn't have did that, he probably would have slept on you and you would have beat him. He probably would have never came at you with that. The way he fought, he would have been a little more, but he fought with more emotion against you because of everything that happened. Well, I take that. If I had to do it all over again, I'd do the same thing. Hey, man, the only thing I can say is, hey, I may not have fulfilled my potential, but hey, if I had to do it all over again, it would be the same way.
You know about the history of boxing. Now you're going to be, or trying to be, a part of the future of boxing, training people, training these young men to become men themselves, to become boxers, or maybe even a part of history in the future. What is your message to those young kids that you're training, or to any young kid trying to get into the sport of boxing?
Well, the main thing is, man, stay focused. The main thing I'm gonna tell kids, man, to never take things for granted. That was one of my biggest things. I used to take stuff for granted. I always had people in my ear, you're going to be world champion, you're going to be 3-time world champion, you're going to do this, you're going to make so much money, this and that. So I always was like, well, it's guaranteed. There ain't nothing guaranteed. And I always, I turned pro, I was 19 years old, and so I look at it like, well, I got time, I'm going to be champion. I always just envisioned a certain picture I was going to have on my career, and it didn't go down that way. So, I can tell the kids, man, just stay strong, work hard, never take nothing for granted. Ain't nothing guaranteed. Because I would have guaranteed that I would have been world champion, but it was obviously I didn't. These kids, they just got to, stay focused, never lose focus, keep your eyes on the prize, never take things for granted, man, some of my mistakes I've made, can't let other guys make.
Thank you very much for being on here, Ross. Thank you very much for being straight up, and thank you very much for being yourself, man.
Okay, man. Thanks a lot.